The thing about Chelsea is life is never boring.
Hey chaps, welcome back to properchels.tv, your one-stop Chelsea news channel. I'm your host, as always, Logan Blue. Now, what do we love talking about Chelsea? When do we love Chelsea? Well, all the time, but especially when they win. Wow, I enjoyed that game much more than the Liverpool game, and not only because of the result, but the performance against Newcastle was, by and large, very good. Certainly not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and we'll get into player details, player critiques in a moment. But overall, I felt we were by far the better team. We probably should have scored another one or two goals if we were a little more clinical, or if that, the goal that was chalked off wasn't chalked off, etc. And the penalty became a penalty. All of that. We had a bit of VAR going against us. I was about to say unfairness, but I don't think it was necessarily unfair. I think the penalty was probably soft. But I certainly think that Palmer's goal, the first goal, could have counted. I thought that was like a coin toss. But either way, we got the results. We got the 3 points. And it was a brilliant weekend for Chelsea across the other results, with teams drawing or losing. So yes, so really, really happy with how the weekend has gone for us, and the standings at the end of it kind of fill us with a lot of confidence moving forward. Now, Newcastle are a tricky team at the best of times, even if they're not as good as the big four, big six, as far as the quality of their squad or the depth of quality in their squad. They're still a very good team, like a very honest team, if that's something I can say. Without sounding patronizing, but they work hard. They sort of bleed for the shirt, which is always nice to see it. And as I mentioned before, they have very good fans, like very like committed fans, and their away fans were very loud at Stamford Bridge. So, okay, so we deserve to win the match. I won't take you through a beat by beat of the match because obviously you've seen it, but some of the talking points I do want to touch on. The penalty, as I said, was not a penalty. I don't think. I mean, obviously, I wanted it to be given. I was glad when it was given, but when it was overturned, I'm like, yeah, fair enough. It was soft, right? You love them when they go for you. You hate them when they go against you. But ultimately, I think VAR got it right. The scuffed goal by Palmer, the first one, again, like I said, it was just. I really think that could have been given, but it wasn't by an inch or whatever the hell they judged that it was offside. But not Palmer didn't seem to mind because he just went on doing what he does. And the goal that he set up from what is it, 1/3 of the way into his own half was just fantastic. My favorite type of goal in all the goals that you can score. Like some people love the you know 2008 Barcelona tiki-taka, pass the ball, like 300 times and then have the perfect, like walking it into the net. Of course, great. If you can get those, fantastic, right? But I don't think it's in Chelsea's DNA. It's not who we are. As a fan, my personal favorite type of goal is the fast counter-attack that comes from absolutely nowhere. And before you know it, the ball's in the back of the net. And the opposition's going like, what the hell just happened? Right? When we play slow, right, it gives the opposition time to set their defense, be it four at the back, five in the middle, or whatever it is that they're doing. They get to park the bus because they've trained on that. When we hit them hard and fast, then individual skill comes into it a lot. For example, in the ball from Palmer for Jackson's goal, which was so devastating, and the vision to even see it, let alone execute it, in one heartbeat is insane. But once he passed the ball, Neto had so much still to do. If that was Sancho, he's not getting there. Or if he gets there, he doesn't have the speed to get it on goal to get the ball across to Jackson. Okay, he would have probably cut inside or cut back and then had to play the ball from there. Which he's more than capable of doing something brilliant with the ball that way. But he doesn't have the blistering speed of a Neto or a Mudryk. So hats off and flowers to Neto for the assist. Obviously, many flowers, whole flower shop going to Cole Palmer because it was his vision, his ball. The ball before the ball. He's not going to get an assist for that, but by God, it was a nice pass. Jackson, a very cool finish, a finish he should be making. Obviously, it's not a number 9, sort of typical number 9 goal from about the penalty spot. Side footed in, just use the speed of the ball. Don't have to hit it too hard. Didn't have to put his laces through it. Had a lot of goal to aim for. So it's a goal he should have scored. But how many times did he have goals he should have scored last season and he just fluffed his lines? So again, big kudos to Jackson for doing his job, but doing it brilliantly. And some of his runs early on, in the first half especially, but throughout the game, some of his turns and runs were excellent. And he's really fast in 5 to 10 to 15 meters, right? He's not like super fast like a Mudryk, will pick up speed. If you think back to your school days, athletic carnivals, when you were at school, how some people were great 100-meter runners, some people were great 200-meter runners, but only rarely did somebody, be able to do both. In football, obviously, it's not a sprint in the traditional sense of the term, but someone who has the speed of thought, right? They often say that the first yard is in your head. And players like Jackson seem to have that in abundance because that turn, that pivot, that like, oh, he's off. And now the defender's playing catch up, right? And they'll often try to foul him, grab him, pull him down, trip him up, or something like that. But he is such an asset to the team in his current form. He is such an asset, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Chelsea may not feel the need to go in for another striker in January. I suspect we probably were looking to do that. Victor Osimhen, of course. But I got a feeling that maybe if he keeps scoring and Chelsea is still there or thereabouts, that Chelsea may say, you know what? No, we're not going to go and spend silly money on Victor Osimhen. Now, would Chelsea be better off with Victor Osimhen? Well, that's a conversation for another day, another video. But Jackson's doing himself no harm at all by putting away the chances if and when he gets them, and by being a team player for the rest of the time. So, okay, to player performances. Defense, by and large, pretty solid, right? Colwell was looking good. Fofana was looking, okay when his knee wasn't playing up. The Enzo tactic of putting James on one side and Gusto on the other, I blew my mind. I'm like, what does that say when you've got Cucurella, who is the best left back at the Euros, who is fit and available and doesn't get on? Wow, I'm like, that's a slap in the face right there. I mean, he's good because he gets to play in the Carabao Cup in midweek against Newcastle, so he'll be a good addition to that particular B team, as it were. But yeah, so Reece James. Let's talk about Reece James. I thought Reece James was excellent later in the game. Right. Well, for most of the game, he was excellent. He was good to excellent, right? But he was at fault for their goal. If you watch the replays, he is literally 2 yards behind the striker, and he's just like jogging, like he's, I don't know, like he's at the end of a big sprint and he hasn't got any puff left, or I don't know. He just literally just stopped, like he was playing a I don't know, like playing a one-man offside trap instead of getting in front of their striker and stopping the ball. So that's on him. But he also saved us later on with that header right at the death, which nearly went in but went over, right? Which was a brilliant bit of last-ditch defending. Plus, there were about two other times he got the ball off the line, or when he was very close to the line, cleared the decks. So he had a great game, not a perfect game, but I suspect that's because he's only just back one game, two games, 1.5 games. So what a boon to the squad he is if he can stay fit. By God, what a boon to the squad. We forget, I mean, I don't think we forget, but we overlook, our memories are short as fans. We overlook how good the man is. And when he is playing at his peak, which he's a long way from, right? But what does that say? Because he played pretty damn good today. But at his peak, he's probably the best right back in world football. And there are not many players at Chelsea we can say are the best in the world in their position, right? There's certainly some like Palmer, we could say are in the conversation. Like, is Palmer the best number 10 in the world? Well, at the moment, yeah, possibly, right? But apart from that, we've got a lot of like really good players, no real world beaters apart from Palmer. But yeah, so really well done by Reece James. Gusto was excellent. Was just like I heard said that he was like vintage Ivanovic up and down the right hand side and inverting and kind of everywhere at once. He's in the penalty area. He's in our penalty area. He's in their penalty area. It's in the middle of the field, right? So yeah, he got licensed. Unfortunately, he's got a rubbish left foot. So when he did manage to suddenly pop up in their penalty area, like like Robin or something, he doesn't have Robin's left foot, so the ball goes into row Z, which is unfortunate because his positionally he's like, well, how the hell did you get there? Right, finish it, lad. But he just doesn't have, he's not a striker. Okay, but if he's there, he's going to be expected to put some of those away because we don't have a lot of midfielders if you class Palmer as an attacker, so let's just move him, up there for a second in our mind. But we don't have a lot of midfielders scoring 10 plus goals. Back in the day, we had many. We had many goals, led by Lampard, of course, who would possibly get 20 a season, let alone 10. But I think that our midfielders, their aim should be 10 goals plus 10 assists. If they do that across a season, sharing time on the field with the other players who are obviously in their position, I think that would be a really good, yeah, a good result for them, and they could just look themselves in the eye and think, yeah, okay, I did my job. Whether we win anything or don't win anything, they can say, yeah, well, I turned up, I did what I needed to do. I scored some goals and I made some assists, right? And then of course there are the outliers, the Palmers, etc. But yeah, so overall, our midfield was excellent. Well, that's a lie. Well, it's not a lie. Oh, geez, we seem to be either impregnable in the middle of the park with all the overloads that the plus ones that Enzo's formations bring, or we just seem to be like, hey, come on in, lads, and just we part like the Red Sea. Their goal is a perfect example of the latter because it was like they literally just played right through us down the middle, and Chelsea had 3 players around them and they didn't touch the ball. And like I said, ultimately, Reece James should have been at the back post to stop them scoring, but it should have never got to that stage. The midfield should have, tackled, or one of them should have just fouled him, given away a little niggly foul around the halfway. That's fine. Just take one for the team kind of thing. But yeah, I still think Lavia Caicedo is the double six pivot that we should stick with. Although I thought Enzo was pretty solid when he came on, so yeah, we're a bit spoiled for choice. I really would like to play 4-3-3, if I'm being honest. I'd like to have all 3 of them, because if we have all 3 of them, then that frees up Enzo to be the more 8/10 to be creative, which I think is where he's at his best. And lastly, but by no means least, Sanchez. Now, everybody's complaining about Sanchez because his kicking was so bad. He 50% success rate for long passes. But you know what? I'm going to defend him, not defend him in like, oh, he did well, but I'm going to defend him because when he plays long balls and stuffs them up, I don't really give a rat's, because if he kicks the ball to the halfway line, right, and it goes out into touch, well, that's okay. They get a throw in on the halfway line. When he tries to play all the cutesy, like football, short passes, that's when we have our heart in our mouths, because when he buggers those up, which he does all the time, we end up losing goals. Right? But this game, I think he lost confidence early because a few of his shorter passes went astray, and so he started just spraying them long. Now there's a double benefit for that. Part one is that it stops us losing the ball very, cheaply in our own third. Which, like I said, I'm quite happy. If you're going to lose the ball, lose it at the halfway line, whatever. We'll recover it from there. But secondly, he's quite likely to be dropped because Enzo is very big on his goalkeepers playing those short passes, no matter what their confidence level is. So yeah, I'm going to pat Sanchez on the back for deciding, no, I'm going to go long because I don't want to give up a goal cheaply, and I suspect that's going to happen. So while Enzo may not be happy with that style of play, I'm quite happy. Like the days of Czech or Courtois knocking it long and Drogba, or in the middle of the park, or Ivanovic on the right, or Cole on the left, just chesting it down and what's wrong with that? Why can't we play some of that? Right? Not all the time. I get it. Right? But I quite like the idea of just breaking it up so that you can press. Do we press? Don't we press? How high do we press? Do we sit back? Do we go? Right? The less sure the opposition are as to what we're going to do, the better the outcomes for Chelsea Football Club will be. Game on game. So yeah, guys, listen. Thanks for popping by. Really, it's a great game. Like I said, I'm always excited when we win, as I'm sure you are. But it's just heartening when the performance is good, even though there were flaws. There were things to work on. We understand that. But remember, in the Liverpool game, we just never felt like we were going to win, and we didn't deserve to win. We possibly deserved to draw. But we certainly didn't deserve to win, and we didn't have many attacks that looked like they might amount to something. In this game, we had loads of attacks, so it's exciting to watch, both for the neutral and for the Chelsea fans. And yes, we could have been more clinical, but we did more than enough to win. Should have won by a bit more, but a win's a win. And yeah, we go up back into the top four. So roll on the Carabao Cup match, and hopefully we can dispatch Newcastle a second time in a few days.
Okay, then, that's all the news that's fit to print, and quite a bit that isn't. As always, thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and God bless, look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.